So do you want me to
Hello.
do? Okay, you go.
Let's restart that.
No, it's funnier if we keep it in.
Okay, sure. So this is the UBA Omega PRs, and we want to start out by saying that we think this division is probably the strongest drafts overall. So we gave each team a rating from 1 to 14, obviously, like 14 being the lowest, 1 being the highest. We also gave each team a letter grade, A plus to an F. We think these letter grades would represent how good the team is. Obviously, an A plus being like not a perfect team, but perfect compared to all the other teams in the league itself. So without further ado, I think we want to start out with the lowest team, and we're going to go up.
Okay, I do also want to say that based solely on the drafts, not any of the players involved,
Yes,
right?
we're just basically completely on the drafts themselves and what they drafted themselves.
Okay.
Not
Uh,
like their experience and
and
stuff.
I also want to make it clear as well that these are drafted in some degree in relation to one another, but also in a vacuum. So we kind of looked at it from both ways and kind of like averaged it together and kind of mentally.
Yeah,
Uh, just so like we don't look at one team that has like some glaring weakness, but everything else is perfect, and then like then like you get what I'm saying, yeah.
yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, let me go to the specific. Where the hell is this? It's right here. Okay, good. It is not right there. I am actually incredibly stupid. Is it on the draft board? Do I go to
Omega summary. Omega summary.
Omega Summary? Why can I not? Oh, it's down farther, isn't it? Yep. Okay. I hate docs. Okay. Hey, we're on the bottom one. Good. Okay, so Pineapple, Nevada lost. He did Nevada lost week one. I'm sorry, Pine. But yeah. So I mean, obviously, when you have four fire flying types, uh, as admittedly a meme, not because Pineapple is a sped kid, but because he did it as a joke. You do have some glaring weaknesses. I don't think Sandslash or Victory Bell have almost any value in them as picks. The Sandslash gets Rapid Spin, I think, and that's like the only thing it does. But he also has a Starmie, so like,
Yeah, and
and a
sometimes does get
Corviknight.
spikes fast. He
I
has
get
three. So if you look at his team, though, I feel like he has four mods that are four times weak to rocks. But on the other hand, he has seven, eight, nine. He has nine hazard removal options.
that's fair. That is fair.
But he, on the other hand, four of those hazard removal options are his fire flying type. So take that out if you
So
want.
yeah. Uh,
Take that if you want. I feel like overall this team, I feel like it can function well, but he's forced to basically bring one out of the four fire flying types a week, maybe two max if he really wants to. But you really can't bring more than two of these mods without just overlapping in skill.
yeah.
To the point where basically your opponents don't need to prep for all four every week, which is good. And your opponent really only need to prep for the other mons: Corviknight, Pheromosa, Tapu Bulu, Cheetar, and Florges, which
And
makes
Starmie.
prepping a lot easier. And Starmie, yeah, which makes prepping a lot easier. He's got good pivots, but overall, I think this team is lacking a lot of things and has a few big glaring weaknesses, obviously.
Yeah. And the rank I think we both gave it a C plus, did we not? Because it still can
Yes.
do things. It's just not doing many things as well as other teams will be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
So the
next up.
next team, the 13th seed, was Fio. We both disagree on this team. You said it was a very good team. I think it's
I
a
didn't say
good
it
team,
was a
but it has,
very good team. I said it was a better team than you were giving it credit for.
in my opinion, Fio's team is a B minus for a few reasons. He has a very good mods in the front, but as you can see in Ubers, there are a lot of Uber mods that if you don't have a reliable check to it, they can very easily go in. Like mods like Marshadow or Mewtwo that can very easily go in on teams where they have no defensive checks to that mod. And I feel like this is a team where he has four. His last four mods are all very useless. Like Leafeon, Solrock, Charizard, and kind of Drapion are never really coming to games. So you've got your first chunk of like top mods that will come to games, and the rest of them are pretty useless.
Now, can I step in here for a second?
Sure.
I want to point out that this is my main point of disagreement, is that, well, flexibility is important, and these Pokemon, to a degree, like these ones I'm highlighting right here, and Drapion, I guess, can get in there as well. They do have flexibility in their sets, to a degree, so depending on the Mon, too, as well. There's a lot of Landor sets that are viable out there, as an example. I think it probably has some of the most sets of any Mon here. Um, but, yes, it's not as flexible as a team as some of the ones we're going to be getting to later, but the core of good Mons here I think is so overwhelmingly strong that in its own way, I think it's still a better team than maybe its placement might make you think it is. I think this team
Yeah, I
will.
can
I
understand that.
think this team will do well. As long as Theo can, provide for the team.
Yes, I can agree with that, and I think in Ubers one of the most important things is 100% flexibility because every team has really strong mods, right? Ubers, so you've got
Yeah.
your Markatos, your Veltals, your Mewtwo's, but teams more than ever want to have flexibility to bring different things every week, and having four mods that are completely useless really deteriorates it and puts it back.
Yeah, what I do think is that when I see this, I'm a little biased. 'Cause I see a team that I would really enjoy playing around with. I love my wish support and my regenerator mons a lot. Sylveon's one of my favorite mons in draft next to Floor just for that type of role. Coco's fast and kills things. With play rough, it's gonna hit things more of that fit. There's physical sets it can run. Uh, Mega Lucario has a bunch of good sets. Mega Lucario is probably, is objectively the best mod on this team. I'm just obviously. Dragapult deals with submons. Has some sets, so it does suffer from the standard things Dragapult suffers from. Uh, but I think this team can do a lot of work, which is why I think it might have been maybe 1 or 2 places higher. But I still think all the teams are so good, it's hard to really give a solid thing to put it above, and I understand why we put it a little bit lower.
Yes. So the next team we agreed on was Rivalet, right? Rival ET.
Rival ET, please. But okay.
Please correct me how to say it in the server. So I think we agreed that this team was this place, not because it was a bad team. I think it was a very flexible team, but I think the option of Sun is good for certain mods and very bad for others, right?
Yeah.
So he has like the Frost Moth and
The
the
Aegis.
Aegis Flash,
Yeah.
and the Aegis Flash, which both do not like Sun at all. And his team is also very ice weak, right? So Rotom Wash and Aegis Flash are his really only good ice checks, and his two big Ubers both are weak to ice. And Venusaur, one of his Sun Sweepers, is weak to ice. So you're really getting into a situation where you need to bring Lightning Rock Dust as your ice check, right? And you're in a situation where you need Rotom
Mega
Wash.
Houndoom can put work versus a lot of ice types.
Sure, but Mega Houndoom can't put in work for his ice types, but as we said before, the stun makes Houndoom instantly lose HP every
That is
turn.
true.
It is not a good defensive check to ice types. A physical ice type like Mamoswine or other good physical ice types does a lot to this team.
I will say though, Blissey does give it the ability to sustain back up its losses through Wish, obviously. And Heal Bell makes it so you can't instantly cripple a mount like Rayquaza or Mega Houndoom with T-Wave, which does give it, like we said earlier, that flexibility that does build back up some of the lost ground from its weaknesses. I also personally think Machamp is a really good mon, but you can go first.
I can agree with that. And I think Mega Houndoom is in no way a frail mon. 75 in HP and 90 in both defense and Spadef means it's able to live some hits, and especially with very low HP, it's able to recover a lot from Blissey's Wish, which is very useful. But I think overall, I think the glaring weaknesses for this team, while he does have very good hazards, I think Groudon and Blissey are his only made reliable hazard setters, like rock setters, because he's got Lightning Rock Dusk and Deoxys Speed, which both don't really always want to run Stealth Rock. And then he's got Comfey and Blissey, which basically do the same thing on this team. So those two mons basically the exact same thing, in my opinion.
I mean, Comfey obviously fulfilling the role of I can click Draining Kiss on something that's really weak to Fairy, and it will die, right? And it gets lots of healing back from Draining Kiss, it's doing so much with it, right? That's like the main difference between there. It has more offensive presence than a Blissey does. Blissey just clicks Seismic Toss most of the time for its damage, then Toxic, right? But if we're talking direct attacking, it's going to use Seismic Toss.
Yeah.
I actually think what this team does really well that might go a little bit under the radar is it does have good low tier mons that have a role on the team. Obviously, Frostmoth, it's a pretty big hit or miss mon, right? It might sometimes get the chance to go in. It does suffer from two really big important 4x weaknesses.
Yeah, especially one being multiplied by 2
for
Sun.
It does need Quiver Dance to be able to outspeed essentially any major threats in an entire game, and probably more than one Quiver Dance to do that.
Yes.
So, and even then, it's not outspeeding Scarfers. That's its big weakness.
65 base speed, even at +2, you're getting outspeed by Scarfers and really fast mons.
Yeah. Anything above 130 right? It's gonna be anything above 130 is gonna be faster than you, which is a lot of mons and Ubers, obviously, right? So. Yeah. I think I just wanted to say Machamp. I really like the Machamp pick because I think Machamp does a lot of cool things that not any other Pokemon can really do. But yeah, next pick.
The next team we agreed on was Tomcore was next. I think we both agree that Tom Core was.
Oh, we didn't give the letter grade for the last couple, did we?
Yes. So Theo and Rival ET were both Bs. Pineapple is a C plus, and Tom Core is now an A minus.
Yeah.
A lot of these last few teams are all going to be A minus, A, and A plus. Only the last game we agreed upon both was an A plus.
Yeah. Because we averaged our 2 scores together for this. So, let's talk about this team. So I think this team, with the exception of a couple picks, I think this team essentially has a squad of threats, right?
Yeah, I think it has very good breaking potential with Yveltal, but especially in Ubers, you don't have like these amazing hard hitters. Yveltal is only Mon with like over maybe 130 in a special attack besides Mega Lottie, which especially since it's Latias, it's going to be running bulky a lot of the time. And the other main problem that we originally had this team as like one of the top teams, when I realized it has 2 hazard setters, Hippowdon, Stealth Rock, and Toxic Spikes, Toxifex, which both of them are very reliable. These are probably the most reliable rockers and Toxic Spikers in the game, but only having 2 mons that set up any form of hazard at all can be very crippling.
One of the reasons I think this team is better than some of the teams below it is almost not purely, but a big reason I'd say is Toxic Spikes. Toxic Spikes to me is probably the best hazard. Maybe situationally, I'd say Sticky Webs and Stealth Rocks can be better depending on what you're going up against. But I think almost always Toxic Spikes has the most damage potential against a team over the course of a battle. Obviously, it's better against bulky teams, but in general, it still will do lots of damage, forcing people to switch out when they otherwise wouldn't want to, purely from how much Toxic is racking up. It's really strong against teams that don't have a lot of self-heal potential. So things that are lacking a move like Roost, right, are going to be hurt really hard by a Toxic Pex's ability to just Toxic Specs up. And there's not many great poison types, right? They are grounded. Toxic Specs obviously being one of them, and only this team has it. So I don't even remember I should have looked earlier at how many other grounded poison types each team had. I might make an addendum or whatever amendment at the end, mentioning that after I've looked at all the teams. But I think Toxic Spikes is probably going to do really good here. One of the big things for me, and after I say this, I'll let you go, is Magnezone without hidden power. Yes, it has Subcharge Beam. That said, it's still there's better options, right? I think Magnezone doesn't do a lot for any team now, unfortunately, and I say that as someone who really likes Magnezone.
Yeah, I feel like Yveltal is a very good mon on this team for a few reasons. Yveltal plus Mega Latias is a very scary Darkling Psychic combination. Both of these mons are able to both break and be very bulky, which is good in Ubers, because Yveltal is an amazing breaker with its ability. It can just spam Dark Pulse and knock off and do good damage, even with no investment and not like form. You can be lefties and just click knock off and do damage, right? But Yveltal also gets Taunt, and Taunt is very good here, especially with Toxic Spikes. Because Toxic Spikes plus Taunt means you can't get off defogs, roosts, heal bells, all that kind of stuff. Also, but he doesn't have a spin blocker, which I don't think spin blockers are as necessary.
They're not. They're definitely not. But they were once mighty. Now have fallen.
And if you look at most of these rapid spinners that are in the game, Yveltal beats most of them, right? Your Delmises, your Donphins, Avalugg, Excadrill, Mr. Rhyme. I think the only reliable rapid spinner that beats it is Morpeko, which is a weird thing to say, and Cryogonal. But it's a very good mon to pair with a good hazard team when you only have 2 hazard setters, which I will say are both very reliable hazard setters, but only having 2 in total forces both of those mons to 100% run hazards on weeks where maybe Toxic Spikes wants to run Toxic instead of Toxic Spikes. Because of like a flying type that's bulky or something like that, or just wants to run Haze or Cover Scald 4th attack, and so now both these mons are forced to run hazards every week, which I think is okay. It's fine.
I will mention that it does have the one only Pokemon that can do this way of getting hazards up, and it's Court Change, right? Court Change Cinderace can get hazards up for you when your opponent does it for you, right? It's like similar, it's just a shittier magic bounce in its own way, I guess, right? But yeah, it does work as a way of getting hazards up, although not consistently and reliably always, right? But it does work.
And it's especially not reliable if you bring your own hazards, right? Because if you click Stealth Rock and his opponent clicks like Spikes or something like that, you Court Change, now you got rocks on your side.
Yeah, it's like you said, when you don't want it's going to be a better option when you don't want to bring Toxic Spikes on your Toxic Spike this week, right?
Yeah, and Cinderace and Yveltal both being forced to run heavy duty boosts most weeks is pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
Although his debuggers are pretty decent.
And he has
He's
a
got
rapid spinner and Avalog as
yeah.
well.
Yveltal, Halucha, and Latias both all can run defog. Yveltal really doesn't. It can run on bulkier sets. Halucha definitely is not going to want to run defog, and forcing it to run defog is not very great. But
Mm-hmm.
Latias is a very good defogger. I think Mega Latias on its own is a very good defogger, and so I think this team is really good. I think
Yeah.
this is a decent A minus, maybe. Yeah.
And like we didn't mention it, but Healing Wish is also really good. Just the Mega Latias's cleric abilities cannot go understated. I'd say on any team.
Yeah, especially with Yveltal.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So next one.
next team was Miso. Right?
Yeah.
Miso's
Yeah.
team.
Miso's next. Yes.
So this team, I feel
Fire
like
logo, by the way. I just want to point that out. That's a
yeah,
fire.
it's a very cool logo. I feel like this team struggles with a few things, and it does a lot of things very well. So if you look at its pivot options, which you hopefully have on screen right now,
Yeah, I do.
you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ways of pivot, which is very good, especially in an Uber's format where chip is very important to let Uber sweep. Now, Eternatus is an Uber mod that I'm very iffy on, right? It's very good because it's got amazing stats. Like, if you look at its stats straightforward, you're like, okay, this is an amazing mod. But its coverage is Cosmic Power, Toxic, Recover, Dragon Move, whether it's Draco or Dynamax Cannon or Dragon Pulse or whatever, Sludge Wave and Flamethrower, and that's it. Now, when you look at that, you can make the argument that it really only Dragon.
Can you repeat that? You cut out there for a second.
Sorry, you can make the argument that it only needs those three moves, right? Dragon, Poison, and Fire beat every type in the game. But there are a lot of situations where you'd rather have other coverage moves, whether it's an electric move, dark move, etc.
Mm-hmm. It also obviously lacks a great physical move pool. It doesn't even get Declaw, right? So, I mean, and look at this thing. Look at these. This has hands. This has hands. If Wooper can click Ice Punch, then Eternatus should be able to click Dragon Claw. That's all I'm saying. But it can't. So, unfortunate, really. This team, though, and I do want to say this, has one of my favorite mons that often goes underlooked, in Breloom. Breloom, it's not the glory days of Gen 5, Gen 4, Gen 6, like especially X and Y, where Breloom was much stronger than it is now. Flying Stab is just often, outside of like bird-looking Pokemon, is not one that, especially on physical flying types, is seen often. Now, obviously, we just did see, what's it called? A Yveltal, which will have that. But in general, having a 4 times flying weakness, it's not the worst 4 times weakness to have. Breloom has a decent amount of sense. It gets Spore, which is really good, right? It doesn't have the Regenerator that something like Amoonguss has, but it does have access to Poison Heal. Through Toxic Orb, right? So it's a good mon that I think with priority goes underlooked and undervalued as a Pokemon that can be a threat to your team. And I can speak from personal experience that Breloom is one of those mons that you don't prep for it well and it can hurt you pretty badly. You go for next and I'll say something.
Sure. So I think one of the things this team does amazing, which is why I think it's a very, very good team that you sleep on, is because, as we talked about earlier, versatility, right?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, there may be like 7 mons in this team, on 7, that you can run both an offensive or a defensive set, and both work very well. Landers can be rocks, Megacesar can easily be a Roost defog set, or like a Swords Dance U-turn set kind of thing. Eternatus can be Cosmic Power Recover, or it can just be 3 attacks Recover, stuff like that. Memo, Arcanine, all these mods are great examples of things that can go either way.
Is that all you
That's
want
really
to
it,
say there? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I think this team's so good.
So, obviously, one thing that does come to mind with this team is there's a little bit of overlap with Raikou and Zapdos. Now, obviously, most of the time you're going to see defensive Zapdos and offensive Raikou, but at least in the case, Zapdos can a lot of the time fulfill an offensive role on a team if you want it to. And Raikou can play a pseudo-defensive playset with Calm Mind, right? Both, as electric types, not having many weaknesses.
Electric types with pressure.
Yeah, with pressure as well. The ability to stall certain mons that they might not be able to otherwise, which is really good on a mon like Raikou setting up Calm Minds, right? But there is a bit of overlap there, and I feel like I wasn't there watching the draft, but I would imagine that there was probably another mon that could have been picked up in that place. I think they might have put for one of them, which would have put this team a little bit higher in my opinion. This is ordered in the order they were drafted, though, I assume, which means that Bush
Yeah.
was a late time, like a late pick that was noticed to be open and was taken, right? And I understand why you would do that. I would not be surprised though if say Raikou was traded away,
Yeah.
later on for something else.
So our next team is Toxic's team, which is our last A minus team, and then we'll get into A's. So Toxic's team, I think, is very, very good with a few weaknesses that, in my opinion at least, make it why it is an A minus instead of an A. So this team on face value is very strong. First off, just I want to get that out of the way. It's very strong, right? Marshadow, Genesect, Mega Dancy, Palkia, all are amazing breakers in their own way. Marshadow is the best Uber in the format, 100%, and he did a very good first overall pick. And then he's got low tiers. He's got Nidoqueen, Porygon 2, Musharna, and Rotomo as his bulk core, which is very good. But I think one thing he's missing is like reliable hazard, because Nidoqueen is really only reliable Rocker and T-Spiker, with Alolan Mach, Alolan Marowak, and Mega Dancy being decent rockers, right? Mega Dancy can run rocks if it wants to, and it's got really good defenses, but it doesn't really want to run rocks because it's able to run 4 attacks. It will. Like 3 attacks plus Calm Mind or Rock Polish, it'll want to run that.
Yeah. It does, obviously just like what we said earlier with Cinderace, it does have the ability using Magic Bounce to get up hazards that your opponent's trying to get up, but most of the time your opponent's not going to click hazards from that play is obvious. But still, it is a way you can get hazards, especially on a team that I think struggles with hazard removal. Rotom being, in my mind, the only Pokemon there that really wants to run Defog a decent amount of the time. Vullaby
Yeah,
obviously Vullaby does, but you'd have to bring Vullaby, right? And it is
Vullaby's not going to any games. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And Hydreigon,
yeah,
it can run defog, but it really just wants to run attacks. So I think this is the main thing this team is lacking, is Mons that have like rocks or defog that want to run rocks or defog. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I also think it has a lot of clerics that also in the end don't have straight up wish. It has healing wish, which is really good on Musharna, probably the best move that Mon gets. Healing wish is an amazing move. Heal Bell is also a really good move, and he has a decent amount of Heal Bellers on this team. 3 is you don't really often see say Mega Diancie run it, but Gramble and Musharna will run Heal Bell.
Yeah, Grandma wants Heal Bell all the time.
And Gramble gets Intimidate, which cannot be undersold as an amazing ability, especially on a lower tier mon. That makes it pretty good in my mind. Porygon 2 is obviously a very defensive mon. It makes up a lot. It will make up a decent amount of bulk for this team a lot of the time as well, I'd say. Nidoqueen has defensive capabilities, obviously. Palkia just from being an Uber is going to have decent bulk, right? Like a straight up like a title card legendaries always have decent bulk essentially, just from like an HP stat that's for some reason high or like decent special defense or defense. So this team is pretty straightforward,
yeah.
I think. Obviously, the potential between Marshadow and Genesect, then you add in Palkia and Mega Diancie, is really strong, obviously.
Yeah, Mega Diancie and Genesect are his main sweepers because like they both have Shift Gear plus Rock Polish respectively, and Marshadow is very good at being a cleaner, where you can just come in and if his opponent team is taking a little bit of chip, you can just come in and just kill everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this team is able to function very well if it's able to chip down a few mons.
So you want to go to the next one?
Sure.
Okay.
Our next team is our first A team. We have Jolts. Jolts' team is this. So I played this team week 1, and it is a very good team. It is very scary to prep for. It is very scary to play against, and there are not many things that can honestly break this team, right? So if you look at fairy types, which are the first thing that stand out, you've got Mega Venusaur and Keychart that just beat fairy types all the time, right? Because you want your steel type to be able to beat it, and on one hand, he has 2 steel types, both being very high tier. One that 4 times resists and one that doesn't resist at all. So, pretty nice. Amazing.
You cut out there.
Sorry, Conkeldurr and Mewtwo are both amazing mons for like pressuring teams on both their respective sides. You really can't deal with both at the same time, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the one thing this team is lacking, probably, is more clerics, which is weird to say because Clefable is the only mon that gets clerics. So it has to run Wish, Heal Bell, Aromatherapy, Healing Wish, that kind of stuff. It gets all 4 of those, but nothing else does. So it has to run Wish and Heal Bell almost every week, which is unfortunate in a 12-mon draft.
Yeah. does get
Especially
sticky webs to Araquanid. Can I go for a second? I want to talk about Araquanid. Araquanid is I like to call it, and I've had people disagree with me on this, but I like to call it in its own way a poor man's Dracovish. Uh, Under Rain, which this team unfortunately doesn't have really a rain setter for, but you could always rain as probably something here, I imagine. But under Rain, Liquidation with Water Bubble does an absurd amount of damage. I think it has like a crazy like 210 base power or something to move in Rain. With Water Bubble, it can do insane damage. Obviously, with Sticky Web, it's always a good mon. Sticky Webs are a pretty good hazard. Obviously. Um, I think Araquanid's a really nice mid-tier pick that makes me like this team more. Hero Lisk is another Pokemon that actually does well in Rain. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm surprised it doesn't have any Rain on this team of some of the mons it drafted. But uh, Mewtwo, obviously, an amazing Pokemon.
yeah, top three mon probably
Yeah,
easily.
easily, yeah. Conkeldurr, strong mom, good abilities, good moves. Cryogonal gets defog, is very tanky
You
specially.
mean Rapid Spin?
Gets rapid spin and defog, yes. Gliscor obviously gets defog. I didn't even know Conk got defog. At least I don't remember.
Yeah, it did get defog in the new game, which is very,
Okay.
very good. And
It,
I feel like one of the things this team does the best actually is setting up rocks, right? It's got
mm-hmm.
Clefables, Gliscor, Dialga, and Heatran. Four of, in my opinion, the most reliable rockers in the game are all on this team. So only one of them needs to run rocks every week, and one of them will run rocks every week. Because out of those four mons, at least three of them are coming to most games, and at least three of them are going to be able to. One of them is going to be able to fit rocks on one of his moves, right? So you instantly get rocks. You can probably bring Sticky Webs to a lot of games, and Sticky Web plus mons like Dialga make it so much more threatening. Right, because it's
Yeah.
90 speed.
I also want to point out, it's not it doesn't have the best of this of any of the teams in the draft, but it does have Volt Turn capabilities. Plus, the cancer that is Teleport in Gen 8 through, especially on Clefable. I don't know how much you would run that on Mewtwo, but Mewtwo probably doesn't really want to go last to teleport out. But Hero Lisk, Volt Switch obviously. You're not going to run U-turn over Volt Switch, obviously. And then Parting Shot, U-turn, etc. on a Alolan Persian is really good. Just as a pseudo core down at the bottom. I'm not too big on the Dusknoir pick personally. I don't really see what Dusknoir does for this team at all. I think there probably could have been a better 40-point pick available on the board, I would imagine. I don't know. If Dusclops wasn't taken, I don't see why you would ever almost ever take Dusknoir over Dusclops. But yeah, I mean this team is still obviously good. It has good Ubers. It has good mons that OU type mons, and just solid all around Pokemon on the team. They morph into this really strong team, I'd say. What placement is he out of the number? Numerically speaking, what number is this team?
Jolt's 8th.
8th. Okay, so slightly below I guess technically one of the midway points of the team, of the list.
Which is not bad, and it's an A, so like the midway to the top is all A.
There are a lot of really good teams here, as well.
A majority of the teams here are.
I think the next 7 teams are all just ranked A. I believe. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our next team is Endless Gadgets, which I think can function very well if it works properly. So if you look at this team, a few things it gets. Scizor, Rotom, Heat plus Slowbro is an amazing bulky core that I really want to use now. Because it looks so threatening and it does not die. All three of those mons just sit, and they just don't die. Plus Lunala, which is also such a bulky. One thing this team does deal with kind of badly is dark types, right? So you got Lunala and Rotom, both two of your main bulky mons, neither of which beat dark types reliably. On the other hand, you have mons like Galarian, Weezy, Como, and Scizor, which can do very well against types. So it's really just how he can handle them,
Yeah, it depends on what he's bringing.
That's the
Volt. Once again, I'm going to mention it like last time. The Volt Turn Teleport capabilities of this team is also very strong. Scizor, U-turn, Rotom Heat, Volt Switch is going to be probably coming a lot of games in this league, and it's going to be really annoying. Yeah, and like I said, Slowbro and Lunala both get teleport. That gives you a lot of pivoting potential, which I think is really nice for this team specifically. It's good all the time, but it's good here too. Lots of hazard setting and removal as well makes this team really good.
He's got probably 2 or 3 reliable rock setters and 1 reliable T-spiker. Then he's got Wish, Heal Bell, and Aromatherapy, all great. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defoggers, and probably 4 of those I consider reliable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to keep the rocks off the field, which is a very good thing because he's got Mega Salamander plus Lunala, neither of which really appreciate rocks.
Yeah. And like you said, we have good cleric potential. Once again, Wish on a Mon that generally won't run it, but you know, bulky Salamence with can Wish pass to the rest of the team or Wish itself. It's not bad. You probably won't run it almost ever, but it is a set that is there. That can work.
I mean, if you look at Salamance's bulk, right? Let me pull it up real quick.
It does have insane bulk in Mega form.
Yeah, it got like Salamence Mega. 95 HP, 130 defense, 90 speed def. That's tanking hits.
Yeah, it is. It can live ice beams. This mon can live ice beams from a decent amount of health with the right spreads and against certain Pokemon. Right? It is a tanky mon that you should not look at Mega Salamence and think that that's not tanky because it is. And with Wish sets it can be useful. But like I said, you're going to probably be running more D-Dance oriented sets on this Mon. Because of its pure offensive capabilities with Aerial Light. Do you have Return allowed in this league?
Do you have what? What allowed?
Do you have Return and Frustration allowed or no?
No.
Okay. So it's probably going to run something like Double Edge or maybe Facade, I don't know. As its Aerial Light move.
It's double Edge is what it's going to be running most of the time.
Yeah.
If your opponent has really good, like, Willow Whispers, I guess, maybe you run on a Facade, but Double Edge doesn't take insane damage. Even without any setup, it's still killing most.
Yeah, Double Edge is going to kill. So, yeah, I mean, Ash Greninja, not better than Protean Gren, I'd say, but it is good. It's gonna go with Choice Spec. It's gonna click like the 4 out of the 5 moves it always has, and it's gonna put in the work it needs to put in. But you know, a little bit of a one trick pony that Mon is, I'd say. Como is a threatening Mon on this team as well. We didn't really talk much about. I think Como needs very little introduction after all the people that played it versus it in Gen 7. And I guess also now in Gen 8 because we're a decent way into it. But Como is a good Mon. Galarian Weezing has Axe to Levitate and Neutralizing Gas, both of which are good abilities. Admittedly, one of them being better in doubles than it is in singles. Lurantis, I think, is a really good, nice 40-point Mon that goes overlooked a lot. Contrary, Superpower, Leaf Storm. It's going to do work. Lycanroc has high speed tier and also will have access to priority and Excel Rock. I think the only priority rock type move in the game as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's true.
Which is good against your boy Pineapple down all the way down there. Love you, Pine. He's not gonna appreciate Lycanroc, but yeah.
He did not. He got completely.
Okay. So he was one who he played Endless already versus that thing. Is that the one that can?
No, he played like Mark Dusk. He played like Mark Dusk. We won.
Okay, so yeah, he's gonna have a little bit of Lycanroc nightmares, that boy. But yeah, I like this team a lot. This team's really good. And Endless is a good player, so I imagine it doing well.
Oh yeah, I think he can do pretty well with this team. I think the main qualms I have with this team is that Mega Salamence, while being a very good Mega on paper, it needs a lot of support, right? And I think he did that very well with all 3 of his bulky mons resisting ice. Very, very good with that. But the other thing I think is that he's kind of forced to bring all 3 of those mons every week, which isn't hard. They are very good bulky mons, but people don't have to really prep for that variable whether not, because Scizor, Slowbro, and Rotom Heat all need to come, right? For whether it's defog or just being bulky mons that need to come to the game. That's that. And you'll also see later with my team, I have a really good offense and a bunch of bulky mons that need to come. And I think that can be utilized well, but sometimes it's easier to prep for.
So let's go to the next team now. And that was an A-ranked team, I believe, right? Yeah, it was A-ranked.
Yeah, it was an A.
Yeah.
Okay, next team was... After our list was Lugia. So Lugia's team was a team that... It was interesting, because looking at it face value, it's a very strong team with a lot of good setup potential and a lot of good sweepers. But then you look at the column. Then you look at the columns, right? one hazard mover, Mega Blastoise with Rapid Spin, and 2 hazard setters. Stealth Rock Dancing and Vikavolt and Sticky Webs. His hazard setters are nothing, basically, right? And so his hazard
You cut out there for a second. Can you repeat what you said?
his opponents can run Defog.
You
His
cut
opponents
out.
can run
Wait,
Defog
you
because
cut out. Can you repeat what you said?
Sure. His hazard game is very much not there at this point. He's got very good threats, but at this point, if he wants to chip down teams to like Blastoise or Zygarde Sweep, he really can't do that. He needs to manually.
Yeah.
Not with hazards.
His only wish support comes in the form of Glaceon, which is not a horrible mon, but I just don't see it coming very often. DNC is often not going to run Heal Bell, which means Aromatherapy, Tapu Lele. I mean, none of these mons really are going to be often. I mean, Glaceon would if it came, but DNC and Tapu Lele are not often going to be running Heal Bell Aromatherapy, which means you're gonna if you're really weak to Thunder Wave or something one week, or say like I don't know Will-O-Wisp, then you're really going to be forced to run one of those moves on one of those mons. Actually, looking at it, for some reason I thought this was Mega DNC. Regular DNC will probably run Heal Bell, but regular DNC also is just not that great. So, it coming is also going to be another question there. It does have good. It does have Volt Turn. Vikavolt not always going to be coming, obviously. But it does have good U-turners. A really strong U-turner in both Darmanitan and Mienshao. Now, obviously, Darmanitan's not going to love U-turning if you don't have the ability to get rid of hazards very well, right? That's 25% every time it comes in. So you don't want to spam U-turn on a mon that's going to take that much damage. Now, good thing Mienshao at least resists rocks, and has access to a decent enough move pool. Has Reckless for some sets. Has what's it called, Regenerator on others, and even Limber.
Oh yeah, I think Mienshao plus Darmanitan is a very offensive.
Yeah.
Like both you turn out and get good chip, which I think is going to be very good for this team. Don't get me wrong. But I think in the end, this team really struggles with just hazards in general, right? Yeah. And that's a main thing that I think it needs to basically patch up. And I think that's a problem. That's one thing that you're not going to be really surprised about when you have a dragon type, when you have a ground type and a steel type that neither of them get rocks, right? Because ground and steel are your normal types that get your rocks, and neither of them get them. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame him because Zygarde Complete and Celesteela are both very, very good mons, and not having rocks still makes them very good. But I think maybe you could have had one of them out for a better steel or ground that gets stone, and would have benefited this team more. Also, I don't like Darkrai is really bad. It just doesn't do well.
Yeah, I was gonna say Darkrai isn't a great mon. I mean, it's a good mon, but it's not a great mon, I'd say.
It's not a great Uber. It's not worth 220 points for sure.
Mega Blastoise though is the highlight of this team. With Shell Smash, that mon is going to be absurd, right? Mega Launcher essentially makes it like it has stab on like a bunch of more types than any mon should. Right? It has the ability to just on its own through coverage and one Shell Smash clean up an entire team, if not sweep an entire team.
Yeah, I would have said though if he had way more hazard sets like a Spiker or a Stealth
right? Yeah.
Yes, because if you already have free chip on mons without clicking a single move, you can get up a Shell Smash and just tear through teams.
Yeah, and Cosmic Power Celesteela is probably the mon that is if this was a yearbook, right? Celesteela wins, makes you want to Cosmic Power, makes you want to click X the most of anything in a game, I'd say. You see that mon click Cosmic Power and you don't have something that deals with it easily anymore, or you don't have something to get rid of stats like you can't clear Smoggets or Haze. You're not having a fun time otherwise. I guess a Phaser as well. So yeah, this team has very good strengths, but also some very glaring weaknesses, right? And there was kind of a toss-up between this and a couple other teams, I will say. I did want to point that out, that a bunch of the teams in this region of the list were toss-ups between where we put them, and we talked for a while before placing them. So, yeah. Probably to go on to the next team now.
Sure. So, the next team we agreed upon, after Lugia, was Tone. So, Tone's team is a very good team, in my opinion. This team is, in my opinion, higher than a few others because it has such good versatility, whatever. We talk about that a lot. But this mon is able to do so many different things for this team, right? You've got Mew, you've got Manaphy, which both are such good, like, offensive mons, but can be such bulky mons at the same time. It's very good with that. Like, I think Appleton's a very underrated bulky mon. In my opinion, Appleton is very good. And if you look at the hazard setters, right? You look at all these mods. You look at
Yep.
that. Look at that.
To be fair, like
That is
I just highlighted both of these. To be fair, half of them are Mew in each category, but yeah, like here and
Mew
then
alone is
and it,
a really good mod, especially with that buff of getting like spikes and so much better. So much better, especially with Mega Aerodactyl getting both defog, getting reliable rockers. Mega Arrow is very reliable because Mega Arrow can run max HP a lot of the time because it can run no speed and outspeed a lot of mods.
yeah.
And in most games, unless your opponent is like a Tapu Koko, it can run minimal speed, completely outspeed everything, right?
Yeah.
And he's got the Scolipede, right? Scolipede get to a few speed boosts, getting to baton passes with like swords dance if you want to, stuff like that. Not at the same time, obviously, but you can. And his rockers are very good. Swampert's a very reliable rocker. Swampert's one of the most reliable rockers in the game. Mew, as we all know, amazing rocker. Mega Arrow, amazing. I would say it's as a reliable rocker, but it is there. It's got T-Spikes too. And Obstagoon, I think, is very underrated. That mod can break teams around so easily. With close combat, no it's facade, knockoff, and then it can just kill things.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And we haven't even talked about the Gyarados Zamazenta yet, right?
Or Manaphy, we haven't mentioned yet either.
I
Manaphy
talked
after
about Manaphy.
did you mention Manaphy?
Yeah.
Yeah, after Tailglow, that thing just can kill an entire team. If you without the right Pokemon there to stop it. There is a team, by the way, that's coming up that it's Slap. Spoiler alert. We're gonna have to bring this Pokemon back up again. But yeah, this team has essentially it all. With not having it quite as much as some of the teams are gonna be above it. It's one of these teams, there's not much to be said here. This team is very much at face value. You know how good this team is, right? Just looking at it. Vanillix is a little bit of a weird mon. Magmortar is another little bit of a weird mon. I'm not sure how often either of those mons will come. Vanillix, I guess, probably has a little bit of its place, although obviously nothing here is really using Hail much at all, so it's not like it has a Hail set for this team. But yeah, it's a good mon nonetheless. I think this team is solid. And Swampert's underrated. I'll say that too.
Oh yeah, Swampert's very good. I think this team, Zamazenta, I think is very good. Just wrapping up, Zamazenta, Mega Arrow, great, fast offensive core. Magearna, a very good sweeper and Ubers, very threatening. You'll have to pressure that mod. No matter what, good Volt Switcher. Yeah, I think this team's very, very good. Definitely should be.
Yeah, we didn't even. I mean, I highlighted it. I didn't mention it verbally, but yeah, the Volt turn potential on this team plus teleport. Magmortar gets teleport, huh? Didn't know.
Next
Okay.
team. I'm not going to talk about this team at all because it's my team, so I'm obviously going to be kind of biased towards it because I think this team is very good.
I guess I'll
But
just go.
you can go ahead.
Yeah. Xerneas needs very little introduction as a mon in Ubers. If anyone who's playing Ubers knows how strong that mon is, I'm not even explaining.
No Geomancy though.
Yeah, no Geomancy. Doesn't need it here. But Mega Metagross, very strong mon. Not as strong as some of the other Megas, but still strong nonetheless. Blaziken, you know what Blaziken does. It's been in Uber since Gen 5, obviously. Zeraora, another very strong mon. In its own right, it's going to be abusing its speed. It can run a lot of bulk because of how fast it is. It has good sets like the bulk up set. It comes to mind. Has some special sets as well. Running Grass, not Volt Switch, etc. Plasma Fist is an insane move. All around strong mon. This team's very fast, as you can just see. Many mons that are in the higher speed tiers. Sovali, one of the most annoying mons in my opinion to play against. I fucking hate dealing with its stupid parting shot BS that it does. Now multi attack being buffed to 120 base power. That's like judgment base power. That's really goddamn strong. It can be any type you want to be. Garchomp, as a Scarfer, is going to outspeed almost every single Pokemon you go against that isn't also Scarfed. Outside being a Scarfer, has lots of sets. You can run Fire Blast against certain mons like a Scizor. You can run just like 4 physical offensive moves. You can run Swords Dance. You can run Rocks. Right, this is a very versatile mon. Always has been. Always been a strong mon, and always probably will be. Mandibuzz, amazing defogger. Amazingly defensive. Can fuck up someone who's set up with foul play. Is a very strong mon. Shaman, natural cure is really great on its own. Hundreds across the board mean this Pokemon is always going to be flexible. Suffers from being a mono grass, which is one of the worst types in the game, but uh, defensively, I mean. But it does have a bunch of things to make up for that. Seed Flare can just rip apart a team. Vaporeon, I think, has the highest base HP of any of the evolutions at 130. Insanely bulky this mon is. Acid Armor is a move that you can run on this thing as a more niche set. Um, Wish Passer, obviously. Heal Bell. I didn't even mention this, but Shaman also does the same thing, and it gets Healing Wish. Uh, they're both very strong Pokemon paired right next to each other on this list conveniently. Cofagrigus has Trick Room, not really running it here, more than likely. But Cofagrigus has lots of options available to it. Has some offensive sets, has a lot of really defensive sets. Will-O-Wisp Hex comes to mind as being a pretty common one. This mon is very, very good. Komala is another super underrated low tier Pikmon. I love this mon. I love the Last Resort Sleep Talk set with a Choice Band just rips things apart, but it doesn't just need to run that. It's not just that one cheese set. It has an insane move pool, which includes Wish for some reason. It gets Rapid Spin. It has a really good move pool all around, and I think this manga is severely underrated. Crustle, if you're familiar with the random battles tier, can just rip your team apart when you are no longer prepared for it. Shell Smash with Sturdy is really strong, believe it or not. Now, obviously, suffers a little bit from a base 45 speed, but after two shell smashes, it's going to be outspeeding most things. It's going to be doing a lot of damage, and it's flexible. Looking at this entire team, screams everything you want in a team. Uh, and I didn't even talk about the hazard setting potential of these mons as well, which is also I did talk about Garchomps, but everything else too there. You can all see this, right? You can be looking at this entire time. Good Volt turn as well. So yeah, I think that sums up this team pretty well. We gave this an A rank.
Yeah.
So next team.
Next team we agreed upon was Slap. Slap
and what number is this, by the way? What number is Slap at on the list?
Three.
Is this 4?
Three.
3?
Three.
Okay.
Out of 4. Slap's team is, in all essence, maybe one of the best teams here if you don't look at one glaring weakness. And that's that A, he has 2 hazard setters in total. He's got Gligar and Donphan as stealth rockers. And the fact that his team is very, very weak. And if you look at all the other teams, and this is one of the only times where we looked at other comparative to his, make our decision.
It's look at a Manaphy here, right?
Every single team in this league has a bulky, and his team does not break bulky, right? Galarian, Darmanitan, Reshiram, and Melmetal, 3 of his biggest threats, all lose to bulky. That's the main Galarian weakness, and he has no electric type, and his grass type is Tangrowth. So he's no super effective stab way to beat it that isn't also strong.
And we even talked about what electric type moves it has available to it. Melmetal and Gengar having the 2 strongest electric type moves available on this team, with Melmetal having the ability to click T-Punch, obviously, on a lot of its sets. And then Gengar, Nerd didn't even believe me on this, but has T-Bolt, and yes, it's good on that. But, you're forced to run stuff like that versus a mon like Manaphy, which I mentioned we would come back up early later. This mon would rip through this team in a lot of ways, right? You're going to be relying on something like Jellicent in that matchup, and you don't really have many great ways to deal with those mons still, even through that. This team has some of the most offensive potential of any team. I mean, look at these just right here. These 5 I have highlighted, and think about what those 5 mons can do to a team on their own, right? Then pair that with any of these other mons. I mean, Downfan has ice type priority. That's really good in Ubers with how many dragon flying monsters dragons in general run around in that tier. And priority is always good. Aromatisse is a really bulky mon with Wish. Same with Lickilicky. It also has the Paris Trap set. It's a good mon. Jellicent gets Water Absorb. Does Jellicent things. Bulky. It's a bulky water, right? Tangrowth Regenerator, strong on its own. Doesn't have the greatest typing. One thing I said earlier, Mono Grass is just not a very great defensive typing. And it doesn't have any sleep. I don't know, it has Sleep Powder, doesn't it? Yeah, but it doesn't get Spore.
Yeah.
Gligar is not listed as a stealth rocker, but like you said, does get stealth rocks. Hitmonchan is one of the only ways this team clears hazards outside of Gligar and I guess Reshiram and Hitmonchan if it ever comes. But this team, the things it does well, you can see plain as day, right? But that water weakness is a big deal for this team. In a league where it's going to be dealing with bulky waters fairly often. And if not just a bulky water, just a water type in general that is going to hit hard. So yeah, I think that about sums up everything that needs to be said outright that you can't just instantly see from looking at the team. Also,
Oh, yeah.
nasty plot Mega
If you
Alakazam
actually
is
look at this team,
busted.
it's a top team. It's the best team in the league. But if you look at it further, you can see the glaring water weakness.
Yeah. So yeah, next team.
Yeah. So the second to last team.
Which means second from first. So.
Yeah, fine. The second overall team is Alrix's team. Alrix, the Arizona Ace Elves. This team has very good hazards, very good pivot options, and overall, just very good offensive team, right? If you look at this team overall, very good. You can't beat the bulky core of Chansey, Lugia, and Milotic. That's just not happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
The offensive core, Mega Mawile, Protein Greninja is. I can give you a whole hour of why Protein Greninja is such a good mod, but TLDR, Protein Greninja is very good, fills so many holes,
It has
and
insane
it beats so
flexibility.
hard.
Has it some actually probably would you agree that it probably has some of the most, if not the most flexibility of any mon in the format? Would you agree to
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Yes. I can agree with that. His offensive core overall, Roserade can be very offensive in games. Zygarde 50% is a great setter. Mega Mawile just breaks mons. They're very, and Mega Mawile only gets beaten by fire types and bulky steel types, right? Which Zygarde beats both of those very well. So I think this team has very good synergy with that kind of aspect, right?
Mm-hmm. Greninja also deals with them pretty most of the time pretty well too, except for the steel ones. But like the grounds and the fires it deals with. Milotic can feel like an unbreakable wall at times. Electros I like as a lower tier pick. I don't know what Wooloo's gonna do. But Delmite is also a really good lower tier pick. Roseray gets T-Spikes, which I said earlier, along with Greninja. I love T-Spikes. It also both of those mons also get spikes, so they can stack them both spike types up. It has essentially every hazard that could be besides Sticky Web. But I mean you don't need Sticky Web. I'm sure it would be nice for Mega Mawile, but it's not necessary. Obviously, Mega Mawile gets priority. Greninja gets priority. This team has good priority options in Fernape, right? Good cleric capability through Chansey, one of the best clerics in the game, period. Lugia will take any attack from full, no matter what. Multi-scale plus those insane defenses will just mean that inherently. Ditto, I think, is one of the best mons in Ubers that isn't an Uber tier Pokemon. And I think that's kind of obvious if you've played Ubers at all in almost any gen. That mon is just really good and really prevalent on teams, right? And in draft, it also has the added functionality of learning your entire opponent's set, which in certain cases can be very, 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 very helpful. I think Ditto is a great mon on this team, and one of the honestly up there as being one of the best mons on the team if it weren't for things like Protein, Gren, and Mega Mawile and Lugia staring you down in the face.
Yeah.
This team is but I feel like there's been a little bit of a trend here recently with like the top teams you've been talking about not saying as much, and I think as opposed to like some of the lower tier teams we had listed, I think that's because you can just look at these teams and you see exactly why they're here, right?
Yeah. They have their bulky waters. They fit their cores, but it's not just like a basic just checking all the boxes off. They have very good synergy with this team. Very good synergy with Mega Ma, Zygarde, your Ditto. Ditto's, in my opinion, such a better will say it is because you can bring it in and you immediately know your opponent's full.
Yeah, it's a great pivoter.
It's very good on the team to let Mega Ma win because it knows everything you're doing.
So we're gonna talk about the only A plus now. I'm assuming.
Yep. Only A plus team is YZY-SZN3, or Yeezy as he is known now. This team is such a scary team. Jesus Christ. So he has Mega Blaze, Kieran Black, Ladio, Suicune, Thunderous Theory, Registeel, Deoxys, Regular, Stone Jordan, Hitmontop, Togekiss, Dugtrio, and Stoutland. Wow.
Now, I don't know about you, Chief, but when I look at this team, not a single Pokemon I am not afraid of. Even Stoutland
Yeah,
is a strong ass Pokemon. I've seen Stoutland put in tons of work in games.
he drafted very well because
He did.
every mon on here is very good, right. His pivot options are great. Thunderous getting Volt Turn, Mega Blazing now gets U Turn. Togekiss with Baton Pass is very good. Deoxys gets Teleport, which isn't optimal, but it's a very good mon in general. His Defoggers are all pretty reliable. Togekiss and Lanios both can be pretty reliable defoggers. Blaziken not really, but him on top very much so. His team synergy is great. The only problem I have with this team is the double big dragons. So, I don't really know about that.
It
But
doesn't
overall,
really. To be fair, it's not a massive weakness. I mean, obviously, for instance, fighting types, Kyurem is weak too, but then Latios isn't, right? You have tons of answers for flying. I mean, fairy flying and psychic flying are the two best things at dealing with flying types, I'd say. Not flying types, fighting type attacks, right? Togekiss comes in on any close combat any day of the week, even at super low health. You're not Kyurem's big weakness there is no longer really even a factor. Um, then obviously a big weakness for a mount like Togekiss and Suicune is going to be electric type moves. Well, what do you have for that? Well, you have Volt Absorb, Thunderous Therian, right? You have the absurd Pokemon that is Mega Blaziken. And then, I mean,
yeah,
we didn't even say it earlier, but I mean, Kieran Black is also now an absurd mon as well. Always was, but now with a physical ice type move is even crazier. And you can always still run special Kieran Black or mixed, right? If you want to be like a wall breaker. This team has essentially everything you could want. I mean, the only box that I personally would wish it could have checked was toxic spikes, but I mean, look what this thing has. It doesn't really need it all that badly, right? The only thing is I think that like a team like this would even appreciate more would be toxic spikes and healing wish, I guess. But I mean, hey, Togekiss has wish and heal bell, and it's one of my favorite mons to use with that. Besides Florges and Sylveon, and get Serene Grace. If you somehow were already losing a game with this team, this you would have the ability to hack your way through it pretty reliably with
yeah.
a bomb like
And
Togekiss. So
I feel like this team does a very good job of letting Mega Blaziken just right. You got Kieran Black for amazing breaking, Togekiss for chipping down, and bringing Dugtrio on scary threats, right? So you got Thunderous Fairy, which beats almost every bulky water in the game with the combination of Grass Knot. And the Dugtrio beats a lot of the other Pokemons that can normally beat Mega Blaziken. For some reason or another, Dugtrio comes in, maybe even just clicks Memento and gives Blaziken a
mm-hmm.
two. Dugtrio plus Togekiss plus Thunderous does a very good job of just letting Blaziken win. And then Suicune plus Registeel is a very good job of just pulling out teams.
This team is essentially, I mean, not even essentially, it is the best team in the league. I think undoubtedly, and I think it deserves its A plus ranking wholeheartedly. I will mention this was not the only team I gave an A plus to. It was the only one that we both gave an A plus to. But
Yeah.
I think it is undoubtedly the best team. No question.
This is the only team that we both agreed on would be an A plus.
Yeah.
So that's the end, right?
I think that's all of it. Tune in next time when we don't do anything because there's nothing to tune into next time. Goodbye.